Our living salvation is Christ in us. And Jesus went to the cross so that he could live in us. Before, when man would approach God, man couldn't live with God. God couldn't live with man. He wanted to, he desired to abide among his people, but he couldn't because of our unrighteousness. People would die. You couldn't just go into the presence of the Lord. You would die. They had to put him in a box and then put that box in a room and fill that room with a thick cloud of smoke and incense, and then cut that room off with a thick veil, and then a tent around that, and so on and so forth. And even the people that could go into that place couldn't be anybody. It had to be a special consecrated group of people who went through the cleansing rituals correctly. All that's gone. That veil's been torn. Because of the work of Jesus Christ, we can approach God without fear. We can approach God with confidence. Every person for themselves. In 2 Corinthians, when it was talking about the jars of clay, a little bit later in verse 10, we always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our body. The whole point of the death of Jesus was so that Jesus could be put in us and us in him by the Father, in order that Jesus would be able to be made known. This is why we're called lights. You hide a light under a bushel? You don't. Is a lit city, should it be hidden? It should be put on the hill so everybody can see and go to it. This has always been the intention of the Father. But just like the alabaster box, we can, in a sense, hold Christ captive. He can be in us. But if we don't lay ourselves down to allow him to express himself, he won't be expressed. The Lord never forces anybody to do anything. I mean, he chased Jonah into a whale. He made it really hard for Jonah to refuse. But Jonah always had the choice to curse God and die. And he didn't do that to be mean to Jonah. He did that actually because he loved Jonah, and Jonah was making a terrible mistake. And God wanted Jonah to live and not die. So I'm not saying that Jesus won't come after us hard, because he will, and he has. He's promised. Those of us who have given ourselves to him, who have been bought with a price, he's promised to break our flesh. And he's going to fulfill that promise. And it's important not only for us that this happens, so that the power of our fleshly lives over us can be broken. So it's not so much that so that it can be broken, but it was broken on the cross. But we receive the things of God by our faith. We experience the things of God by our faith, even things that were established a long time ago. When we believe that God is who he says he is, and that he's done for us the things that he said he's done for us, when we believe that by faith and we hold on to that, no matter what we may feel, no matter what we may see, no matter what other people may say, no matter what circumstances may look like, our faith gives birth to the reality and the experiences of those things that are actually there. The Lord breaks us down, not to necessarily enhance our strength, but to replace our strengths. who we are with Jesus. So whatever is in us that's taking a place that where Jesus needs to be, whether it's what we believe about ourselves or issues that we struggle with, relationships with other people, whatever that is, the Lord will break that down. And in breaking it down, a lot of times it's stirring it up, and it can get really messy. You know, you have a closet full of junk, and it's time to clean the closet out. Sometimes you've got to take what's in the closet and spread it all around the room, figure out what's going on, and put it back in the closet in a nice, neat order, right? At the end, everything is good and everything is orderly and clean. But in the middle of the process, sometimes it looks messier than if you just left a pile in the closet outside in the first place. So when the Lord comes to break us and to deliver us of the things in our heart, it's always with the intention of putting the truth there where there's a lie that we believe. Putting the fruit of the Spirit there that's part of the life of Jesus. To put joy where there's no joy. To put hope where there's hopelessness. To teach us about who he is and about who we are in him and what he truly thinks about us. So then, later on, when you're going along in your life and something rises up against the knowledge of God that he's given you, if somebody says, well, you can't trust God, you know, he can't do anything for you. There's something already inside of you that knows differently. You're like, wait a minute. I remember when the Lord asked me to trust him, and I did trust him. And what he said to trust him in seemed very unlikely. But I did. And he was there, and he proved himself trustworthy. And my faith in him has grown. So a lot of times we can't receive those things unless we go through that process of breaking. Now, the process of breaking isn't a punishment. In fact, it's promised as a reward. And Jesus says, I'm the vine, and my Father is the vine keeper, the gardener, and he walks among the garden. And the branches in the vine that give fruit, he'll prune back. He'll break them down. He'll cut them back as a reward for them having produced fruit so that they can produce even more fruit. So our attitudes during a time of breaking can be very important. I mean, we need to find out, is the Lord dealing with us because of our bad attitudes towards him, because of our sin? Is he trying to wrangle us like an unruly sheep and bring us back into the herd? Or is he rewarding us for good and productive service, for choosing him? Is he just working on us, breaking us so that we can choose him more and more and more and more and be conformed more into the likeness of Christ?